In our new look expanded format, we'll be taking a look at why this so-called hothead caused this exploding head. We'll also be looking at what made the headlines in the last few weeks, newly released climate research, and a new feature about species extinction and habitat loss. So let's get at it. Euronews Green, published by Europe's leading international news channel, out of France, had this: how even rich Bavaria cannot provide shelter from global warming for climate migrants. In March 2017, the Council of Ministers, composed of the heads of government of each German state, voted to issue a recommendation to end financial support for victims of natural disasters who had not previously taken out home insurance, where it was possible to do so. Bavaria chose to adopt this as policy, which came into effect on the 1st of July 2019. Meanwhile, the New York Times alerts us to some sweet will deals coming from the Ford Motor Company, saying that it was cutting prices on its top-selling battery-powered model, the Mustang Mach-E, and increasing production of the sport utility vehicle. It was the latest sign of intensifying competition in the electric car market. 2 weeks ago, Tesla slashed prices of its electric cars by as much as 20% in response to softening demand around the world. The price cuts for the two most affordable versions of the Mach-E amounted to less than $1,000 each. Other models, with longer-range batteries and premium options, were reduced $3,680 to $5,900, reductions of 6 to 9%. Ford's chief executive, Jim Farley, said,
"We want to make EVs more accessible, so we're increasing production and reducing prices across the Mach-E lineup. With higher production, we're reducing costs, which allows us to share these savings with customers."
Over in the UK, The Guardian's Graham Reed-Fern lays into Jordan Peterson's zombie climate contrarianism, writing, "The titles of Peterson's latest offerings give a flavor of the content. The world is not ending, unsettled, climate and science, and the Great Climate Con." Last year, Peterson came in for scathing criticism from climate scientists after claiming climate models were mostly useless. Peterson had badly misunderstood how models work, they said, with one saying, "He sounds intelligent, but he's completely wrong." The criticism appears to have done little to discourage him from wading in even further. Peterson's popularity among conservatives and, judging by many of the comments he receives, his almost godlike status among his fans, is helping to expose new audiences to old arguments on climate change. On the scientific research front, findings published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences from St. Louis University researchers ask, can elephants save the planet? Elephants play multiple roles in protecting the global environment. Within the forest, some trees have light wood being low carbon, while others make heavy wood and are high carbon. Low carbon density trees grow quickly, rising above other plants and trees to get to the sunlight. High carbon density trees grow slowly, needing less sunlight and able to grow in shade. Senior author on the paper Stephen Blake says,
"The importance of forest elephants for climate mitigation must be taken seriously by policymakers to generate the support needed for elephant conservation. The role of forest elephants in our global environment is too important to ignore." Shifting the argument for elephant conservation toward the role forest elephants play in maintaining the biodiversity of the forest, that losing elephants would mean losing forest biodiversity, hasn't worked either, as numbers continue to fall. We can now add the robust conclusion that if we lose forest elephants, we will be doing a global disservice to climate change mitigation.
As most of you know by now, Al Gore is certainly
close to certifiably insane. He has become more unhinged since we last saw him.
Al Gore actually claimed renewable energy was the cheapest form of energy. Show us the evidence. There are dark corners of the internet with more believable conspiracy theories than his. This is not Al Gore's first rodeo into bizarre land. And by the way, Germany now dependent on Vladimir Putin. Hey, Al, how's that working out?
We are not winning. The crisis is still getting worse faster than we are deploying these solutions, and we need to make changes quickly. Emissions are still going up. All these promises of the last few years to cut emissions are still going up. When are we going to bring these emissions down? And just to put the science in a slightly different context, people are familiar with that thin blue line that the astronauts bring back in their pictures from space. That's the part of the atmosphere that has oxygen, the troposphere, and it's only 5 to 7 kilometers thick. That's what we're using as an open sewer. Now we have the COP process. Okay. What do I say to these young activists that I train around the world when they come to me and they say, "Are you okay with putting the CEO of one of the largest oil companies in the world in as the president of the COP? Is that really okay?" Well, it's not whether he's a nice guy or not, or whether he's intelligent. The appearance of a conflict of interest undermines confidence at a time when climate activists around the world, and I'm partly speaking for them right here on this stage, have come to the conclusion that the people in authority are not doing their job. There's a lot of blah, 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 as Greta says. There are a lot of words and there are some meaningful commitments, but we are still failing badly. We need to have a supermajority process instead of unanimity in the COP. We cannot let the oil companies and gas companies and petrostates tell us what is permissible. In the last COP, we were not allowed to even discuss scaling down oil and gas. Can't discuss it. A lot of the NDCs weren't even called for. Are we going to be able to discuss scaling down oil and gas in the next COP? Or putting the oil industry in charge of the COP? Is that going to tell young people around the world, we've just decided to not even disguise it anymore? Let me finish with this point on the industry. You've had problems in your area where you tried to get legislation and the oil and gas industry came in and fought you, right? In my state, same thing. Every piece of pro-climate legislation at the national level, the regional level, the local level, municipal level, the oil and gas industry and the coal industry, they come in and fight it tooth and nail. And they use their legacy network of political influence and wealth to stop progress. The rest of us have to reform these international institutions so that the people of this world, and including the young people of this world, can say, we are now in charge of our own destiny. We're going to stop using the sky as an open sewer. We're going to save the future and give people hope. We can do it, and remember that political will is itself a renewable resource.
Feisty. And lastly, we leave you with this.
Over the course of my life, I've encountered some of the world's most remarkable species of animals. Only now do I realize just how lucky I've been. Many of these wonders seem set to disappear forever. The evidence is that unless immediate action is taken, this crisis has grave impacts for us all.
Biodiversity at all levels continues to degrade in all parts of the world. 20% of all assessed species are threatened now with extinction.
Today, we are the asteroid that's causing many, many species to go extinct simultaneously.
For your edification, we programmed our highly priced computer systems to conduct a random search on all current critical endangered species on IUCN's Red List, producing this dossier, which we leave you with. A tutor-layer. Computer-run program.
Working. Assessment information in detail. This species has a restricted range within which there has been a continuing and very high level of habitat loss, and related population reduction of greater than 80% over the past 3 generations, which is expected to continue for at least another generation. There is also extensive collection for subsistence use, and the species typically has a low reproductive capacity. Threats. Recent rediscovery of a few specimens in markets in Myanmar and across the border in China confirm the rarity and threatened status of this rarely seen species. There are very few in international trade. Collection for subsistence food by local people, Chin and Rakhine people, is a greater threat to this species. Scientific name, Hyoscines depressa. English common name, Arakan forest turtle. Native to Bangladesh, Myanmar. Red list category, critically endangered. Population trend, decreasing. Habitat and ecology, forest, wetlands, inland. This has been Olay and Ollie K. Boomer with NOLA Comms for your climate change report coming from downtown Alberta.